struggling with a couple of issues. One was trying to resolve the conflict we had between trying to source sustainable forest products at cost parity, because we had been trying to do it for many years and we weren't being successful. And the second thing is that we engaged with Rainforest Alliance to help us write a responsible paper sourcing policy. And it's something we just had no experience in. We bought a lot of paper, we still buy a lot of paper, but we didn't really understand really where all the pulp and certainly where the trees came from. And so, Rainforest Alliance has really helped us do that. And I told her my dilemma, which was, I'm not sure how we get this done. And so she said, well, Dean, how big are you and what's your position in the market? And she very nicely reminded me that as a market leader, we probably have some influence and power in the supply chain. And that was helpful. But definitely helpful and definitely a wake-up call for me. But then she invited myself and some of my colleagues and some rainforest colleagues to visit rainforests in sustainable forest practices in Guatemala and Brazil. And as I said before, it was incredibly inspiring to see people use a forest responsibly and better their lives. And I realized, oh gosh, we can make a huge difference here and change the way our industry sources paper. As we were down there, we were talking about, well, what else can we do? How can we work together and help? Because we have a foundation, the Avery Dennison Foundation, that invests in education and sustainability. And we like to do it in places where we have employees so that they can engage as well. And so we just recently announced an investment in Honduras for $200,000 a year for the next 3 years to basically replicate some of the things that we saw in Guatemala in a country where we actually do quite a bit of business.
The Rainforest Alliance, as you know, we work really to help encourage markets to help solve some of the problems that the markets actually create around sustainability. And when you look at what's happening in Brazil and Guatemala, Honduras, where we visited, you're seeing communities really put in place significant sustainable management techniques. So in natural forests, they're only taking out 4 trees a hectare. They're mapping every single tree in every single hectare, and they are making sure that they're not harvesting where there's wildlife, where there could be erosion, where there's important water supplies, et cetera. It's really intensive. And what we're doing with Avery Dennison is encouraging 2 types of engagement with the forestry sector. One is with the big pulp and paper companies that provide fiber and material to Avery Dennison, like the ones we saw in Brazil, where they are now working with indigenous communities, because there's been a lot of conflict over resources there, where they're planting and maintaining native trees in areas where there's otherwise completely destroyed landscapes, right, as well as the pine that they need for the pulp. So encouraging and supporting those companies that are really making those kinds of investments is critical, right? And then the other part of it is helping these communities who are producing product that isn't necessarily going into Avery Dennison's supply chain, that's more tropical hardwoods and things, but because of Avery Dennison's footprint in the forest product sector, this is a way they can give back to those communities where they also have other operations. So, it's that kind of work that we really want to reward and support those producers that are making these kinds of investments for our future, because they're really stewarding the natural resources for us. So it's pretty encouraging to see.